I saw a post yesterday by this influencer who has 6 children. She just recently had twins, and her mother passed away, I believe, when she was 23 years old. And in her post, in a way, I guess she was honoring her mother, the loss of her mother. And she was saying how much she missed her and how she wished that she was here, that she could hug her and kiss her and be able to have conversations with her. And of course, with my mother's transition happening in 2023, May of 2023 to be exact, I was pondering. It made me deeply ponder. Like, I get into these analyses, deep philosophical thought. And I think the concept of death itself is such a touchy, controversial, yet beautiful thing. It's beautiful, it's psycho-spiritual. I actually like the concept of death when you think of it, right? Because it just allows us to really be moved in a transformative way. When death happens, when we experience death, when we think about it, like that, death is kind of what solidifies life itself. And her lamenting over the passing of her mother, which a lot of people do when it comes to losing loved ones. They grieve the loss, they cry, they held rituals called funerals. And again, it made me think about my mother. So here in this audio recording, I want to talk about just some reflections I had on my mother. And yeah. So my mother, and it's funny, as I as I begin to open up this portal, I can feel, like, I can feel her presence. Like she just wants to be here. I don't invite her necessarily, but my mom invites herself in my life. And I don't mind it. I don't mind my mom's presence at all. Like, don't get it twisted. I don't mind her presence, but I just acknowledge. I acknowledge it. And when I say, because I know it, right? I'm a very deeply rooted spiritual person. That's just who I am. I've always been that way. That's why I perceive things like death much differently than the average person. And it has created some friction because I perceive death differently. I've always. So to the point where my own mother predicted her future. She predicted her own future and my future. This was back, I think, maybe was I in college? This was years ago, right? And my mom said to me, kind of sarcastically, you probably ain't gonna be at my funeral. You gonna show up to my funeral. And I'm like, she knows her daughter. They say mama knows best, but my mom, she knew me, man. So let's rewind a bit. It was May 2023. I was working at a psychiatric hospital in Queens, New York, when I got the call from my sister. And again, I am deeply connected on a spiritual level. So it's not too many things that happen that I either haven't foreseen happening or haven't experienced a foreshadowing or I don't know about deeply on a subconscious level. And that day before I had received the call from her, my body was acting differently. I had diarrhea. My stomach was churning, yo. I had diarrhea and I'm just like, And women, we're spiritual beings. We're very in tune with our bodies, right? So I'm just like, I got diarrhea. I can't stop shitting. And I'm at work. And then I get a call. And she's like, my sister tells me, and she's calling from Florida, right? I'm in New York. And she's like, we had to rush mom to the hospital. And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, it's nothing new. There ain't no new news. Because my mom, for as long as I've known her, she has always been sick. Not just physically, but I would say psychologically too. That's a whole nother story. We're going to get into that. But she's always had like physical ailments in the sense where she's had to take medication, bunch of medication. I remember growing up and just seeing her. She got all these pills and shit. And I'm just like, okay. And me, of course, I'm opposed to the modern day medication, right? I'm more traditional. I'm like my dad, old school home remedy type thing, right? But my mom, she swear by the modern day healthcare system. She swear by it. And I'm like, okay, that's nothing new. And it's funny, I think my sister was trying to protect me, right? And I love my sister. She's 3 years my senior. She actually just had a birthday last month. And I think she was trying to protect me. Like she knew more than what she was telling me. But it's almost as if she was unfolding the story cautiously and slowly. Like she didn't just drop a bomb, which I think she already had the bomb dropped on her because she, in a nutshell, came home and my mom was unconscious. And she said that she had performed CPR on her and then she had to be taken to the hospital. So by the time she calls me, she's already at the hospital and they're saying that they have to airlift her to a hospital in Jacksonville that's more equipped to handle her her state. And as time passes by, of course, they're giving me more information about what's actually happening, right? And turns out, she had several strokes, bleeding on her brain in multiple spots. And the thing with me, because I'm so deeply spiritual, the way I understand and receive information and perceive things is, excuse me, I integrate it in a way that is meaningful and purposeful and beneficial to me, right? And so I'm just like, okay, let's see. So we at the point where let's see, you know. So this is 2023, and rewind a little bit, 2 years before that, 2021, I made a visit to Jacksonville, Florida, which is my birthplace. It's about 30 to 45 minutes north of St. Augustine, Florida, which is my mom's, birthplace. And excuse me, I was called to visit Jacksonville. And this was around, let me rewind a little bit. So I went to Jacksonville 2 times in 2021. The first time was for my father's birthday. So 2021, he is turning 84. He would have been turning 79. Did I do the math correctly? No, I didn't. Oh no, he would have been turning 80. Sorry. So he's turning 84 this year. We're in 2025 this year. He would have been turning, this is 4 years ago, 2021. So he would have been turning 80 years old, right? And me and him had a conversation on the phone for me to, come. And we're going to spend time together. Celebrate his birthday. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take you out, to a restaurant of your choosing. Boom, boom, boom. We had it all mapped out. And I get there, and it didn't quite go as I had planned because he was just in a different mood. So I went to his house, and we spent time together, and funny enough, he had cooked. I'm like, Dad, remember, you said that, we're going to go out. But I guess he just seems like he wasn't really feeling the vibe. I'm like, that's fine, right? And I made an adjustment. And I was spending time with my mom, too. So I was kind of back and forth between Jacksonville and St. Augustine, going to my mom's. And mind you, this is 2021. Prior, I hadn't visited my home, my family, since 2015. And it's a reason for that. So some people, they want to shun me, they want to judge me, they want to criticize me, but no. I was working on a whole PhD program, y'all. And when I visited my family in 2015, I was living in New York. This was around the time I think I was finishing up my master's degree program, getting ready to move to LA at the beginning of 2016 to embark upon my PhD. So we had a good old time though. I brought my ex. Me and him was, we were together. I brought my ex down there. We had a good old time. This is in 2015. So fast forward 2021. We talking about 6 years. From 2015 to 2021, that's 6 years. And everything, so much had changed. How can so much change in 6 years from 2015 to 2021? So much had changed. And it had an effect on me. My heart, when I saw the faces of my family, my mother, my father, like, it had a dampening effect on me. But again, because I am very resilient And I integrate things, like I said, in a way in my mind that everything is purposeful, everything is meaningful. I just kind of roll with life. Life is what it is, and I've mastered the art of acceptance. It kind of just comes naturally, right? And so, granted, while I met with this surprise of an encounter and seeing the changes, you know, when I say changes, it's like not good changes, it's like, deterioration happening within my parents, and I'm seeing, and I'm just like, wow, my mom is, she has lost significant weight. My dad at the same time, both, right? Now, granted, my parents still legally married, right? And they separated when I was 12 years old. That's a whole nother story. But I grew up in a 2-parent household. My mom and dad raised me. And so when I was 12, that was my mom's breaking point. And so they separated. My mom out of nowhere, sporadically. Me and my sister outside playing, and one of my neighborhood friends is like, Danielle, your mom said come home. We get there and she arguing with my dad. Nothing out of the ordinary. She always arguing, right? She's arguing with my dad, going in on his ass. He just sitting there, ain't saying shit. And she tell me and my sister, pack up your shit, pack up everything, throw everything in bag, pack up everything. And again, this was not a new occurrence, because she had left my dad like just on a drop of a dime. Like I said, I ain't gonna go too deep into that, but my mom, when you talking about batshit crazy, and this is the thing that I feel like we don't talk about in the Black community, yo. People like to push mental health underneath the rug, but I like to keep shit real. Just as real as my mom, she kept it. And, she had left my dad many times. We'll be in school, and out of nowhere, she comes to the school picking up me and my sister. We gotta go. I'm like, what the fuck, right? But then she'll go right back. Excuse me, guys. She'll go right back to my dad. So it's just, imagine just being uprooted, right? But then going right back to you, you know what I'm saying, to the house. And so when I was 12 years old, it was like the final straw, right? This was like no return. And we went to go live with her mother. And again, I talk about this in my autobiography, American Dreamer, but just to give some context. So my mom and my dad still legally married, and this is 2021, and I'm seeing like, wow, so much has changed. And it's basically that my mom's conditions had been weighing on her to the point where it was showing, right? It wasn't showing before. She was taking, of course, medication. I had been taking medication over the years, but it wasn't really showing like that physically, on a physical appearance. But then 2021, I'm like, damn. She was skinny. She hadn't really been eating, not much of an appetite, but she was still getting around. She was still able to drive and things like that. But I'm just like, ooh. And so my coming there lifted up her, I can tell it lifted up her spirits, because she was eating. All of a sudden, she eating. I'm taking my mom to whatever restaurant she want to go to. Like, I got you. And my mom, she like seafood. She like everything the doctors tell her not to eat. She don't give no fucks, okay? She ate that shit. And I'm telling her, like, Mom, then your doctor tell you, what does your dietitian tell you supposed to eat? She don't give no shit. She what she want to do, right? So my mom, like I say, she had every condition under the sun. High blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid condition. What else? Then I'm just a lot of stuff, like, right? But those are main ones. And course, she's supposed to stay away from salt. She don't care. So I'm just like, I let her do what she want to do. Because I'm eating. And you can't, like, the thing about, people that are real, the thing about people when they stuck in their ways, you can't control a grown ass adult, especially parent. Like, they gonna do what they want to do. So we going to seafood restaurant. We're going everywhere she want to go. And she eating, and she happy though. She's finally eating, so I look at it like it's a good thing, because before she really wasn't eating like that. And granted, she was living with my sister. My sister got her own life. She married, with kids, 2 adult kids. And actually 3 adult kids now, but it was 2 adult kids at that time, right? And then 2 other ones still in school. And so, of course, my sister got her own life. But, yeah, and that's my mom. And then my dad, when I came down there in around August, this was 2021, to celebrate his birthday, he lost weight. And I was like taken aback. I'm just like, when he came to the door, opened the door, I'm just like, my heart kind of dropped. I was shocked just because I'm like, this is not the dad that I knew. But listen, times change, right? So that was that. I think I stayed there for a good week, a good solid week. Came back to New York. September, my birthday, September 28th, 2021, same year. Right? Not even a month apart. My dad's birthday is August 29th. And I ended up having an appointment to get my license, my California state license, transferred over to New York license, because my California state license had expired around that time. So I had booked an appointment with the New York DMV in Harlem, get my license, switched over. Oh, this is on my birthday, I remember. I did that, and I said, okay, after that, I'm going to treat myself to some good food. I went to Harlem BBQ, and I'm, chilling, vibing at Harlem BBQ. I think I'm on live, and I get a phone call from my sister. And this is my sister on my dad's side, so I am the only child of my mom and my dad combined, right? They had me, and that's it. But prior to me, because I'm the baby, so prior to me, my mom had a child from another man. That's my sister, who's 3 years older, right? That's my sister whom my mom lived with. And then prior to me, my dad had 6 kids from his first wife, right? So we do have a blended family, and I'm the youngest. And I get a call from one of my dad's daughters, my sister, on my birthday, September 28th. And she's like, telling me Dad is in the hospital. And I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, he's in the hospital, but he's sitting up, he's alert, he's communicative. And I say, well, it's my birthday. Funny enough, what do you know? And so she put him on the phone, and they sing happy birthday to me. And I'm just like, what a fucking birthday present. What the hell? Like, I know the universe got jokes. Like, the universe, and they say God work in mysterious ways, but I'm just like, jokes? Okay, like, so I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting there listening to them sing happy birthday, but it's odd, and it's so strange, because my dad, like, his health is second to none. His health is immaculate. That's why he lived so long, and he's never been to the hospital. He brag about that still to this day, like never having to go to the hospital, just relying on home remedies. He's old school with that shit. My dad was born in 1941. My mom was born in 1953. And he never had been to the hospital. Don't take no medications. Like, that's just not his thing. He home remedy, old school type. And so for him to be in the hospital, and he is, at this point, he is 80 years old, it's just like, So she's telling me, if you want, you can come on down here. But then, like, that's like, initially, that's what she was saying. And then the urgency kind of increased, like, okay, you should come down here. You need to come down here. And I'm just like, say less. So I booked a flight, made reservations, and I did it for 10 days. I'm like, okay, 10 days should be enough. Let's see what's going on. I'm at the hospital with him. And prior to my getting there, they tell me that he wasn't eating. And I knew, because I know I got that magic touch. And if it's meant to be, it will be, it shall be, right? So I'm just like, I go down there in a hospital, and I walk in. I think he is like sleep, but kind of light sleeping. I call his name. He look at me. He know who the hell I am. And I think he has some food there, and I'm just like, you're eating. He barely eating, right? Really no appetite. And so my mom, I invite her, my sister, they come. And this is like, granted, y'all, this is 2021, so this is like still COVID. Still the COVID pandemic where they got restrictions, especially at hospitals where, you can't have that many visitors, and at one time only one person in at a time type shit. My mom, of course, she ride or die, so she there to support. With my sister, they drive from St. Augustine. So we in Jacksonville, at a hospital in Jacksonville, and my mom and sister sitting outside. And I think it was beautiful because, granted, my mom and dad separated. Guess what? She still, like, you can see the love that she had for my dad in that moment, and the love that he received from her, because I ended up putting my mom on the phone, right? So, excuse me, I'm sitting in the hospital next to him, and I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm like, hey, you want to talk to my mom? And it was just so beautiful because, like I said, they separated when I was 12 years old. And I've always been that type of kid where I'm just like, I wanted my parents to stay together. And I tried so hard to pull them back together. Imagine me at 12 years old trying to convince my dad. I'm talking to my mom. I'm talking to both of them, right? Trying to convince them to, like, come on, work your shit out. But they was just like, no, they're both telling me. My dad telling me, oh, well, I told your mom she didn't have to leave. She can just treat it like, we brother and sister. And then my mom just like, I'm talking to her, trying to convince her. And she just like, hell nah. Your dad, he's staying out late at night. And he's saying he going to his friend house, Robert Ely house. And I'm like, oh, God. So I'm dealing with this at 12 years old. And my mom was just really stubborn. And she's just like, nah, it was a final straw for her. But to see them on the phone and to see, my mom talking to my dad, it was just so beautiful, yo. I'm just like, And he was like, it's good to hear your voice. I'm just like, That's how I remember them being. They're just like lovebirds, right? It was just so beautiful to see the love between my mom and my dad, given my dad was like pretty much damn on his deathbed. If you would have seen, like, he had lost so much weight, right? And not to go too in deep, but I would just say it was like related to prostate. And so, and that's what they say, black men, y'all go get your prostate checked, get your prostate. But it was due to the prostate, right? And hold on, give me a second. And so um, my mom was like, okay, we're going to get something to eat. And we left and went to a seafood restaurant. Again, like I said, my mom likes soul food, seafood. So we went, and I had leftovers, and I brought it back to the hospital and shared it with my dad. And he ate that shit up. You hear me? He ate that shit up. I think it was my mom that put some juju on that shit, but listen, he ate that shit up. You hear me? So that got him back in the mode of eating. And I think, could have boosted his mood, could have boosted his morale, kind of gave him a reason to push through and to live. And, thankfully, at God's grace, he's still alive. He lived by himself. He got his own house. He been in the house since he purchased it. He purchased that house, I think, before I was born, back in the 80s. Still living in the same house, standing tall, walking tall, doing his thing. So he's still around. He pushed through that. But I remember being in the hospital with him. 10 days. He did have to get surgery, so he underwent surgery, and that was a difficult decision because my family and my sisters, we kind of under persuasion that, of course, we against it. We like our dad, right? Me and my sisters on my dad's side, we very much like him, opposed to modern medicine, traditional, right? And don't like the whole idea of cutting on the body and all that, right? Cutting up a motherfucking body. And so, but we had to make that decision because they just like, his shit was enlarged and so they had to, shave that shit down. But he was good. He made it through, came out strong. And I remember being in the hospital with him. And like I said, I'm spiritual, so I smelled the stench of death just pass through that room. And it was there. It was just like a mist. It was like a mist kind of just sitting, floating. And I faced it head on. I'm just like, not today. Not this time. It ain't time yet. You know when it's time. But it wasn't time for him yet. Even though it was, like, when I say that stench of death was so thick. It was so thick and heavy in that room, in the hospital room. And I looked it dead in his face and I was just like, not today. And it passed. Like I said, my dad is still alive. He'll be 84 this year, August 29th. And so, I say all of this because it's all connected, right? When my mom, so rewind, this is 2023. So that was 2021. 2023, going back to the story where I'm working at a psychiatric hospital in Queens, New York, and I get the call from my sister about my mom, saying that when she came home, my mom was like unresponsive, and she was telling me to CPR on her. And mind you, my sister, she is a director of a daycare center, right? So she trained in CPR, So she, was doing CPR. Of course, she wasn't responding, so she had to go to the hospital. And she's unresponsive. So I'm not able to talk to her, right? And they're telling me that, she's going to be airlifted. Turns out she wasn't airlifted. They drove her from St. Augustine to a hospital in Jacksonville. And I find it interesting, the last conversation I had with my mom, rewind back to 2021, right? This is one of the time when I had to, like I said, I went there back to back. It was August around my dad's birthday, and then it was September around my birthday when that emergency happened with my dad. And so, again, that was the last time I saw both of my parents, right? And before leaving to come back to New York, I'm spending time with my mom, right? I'm at my sister's house, and as it was getting closer to time for me to leave, I get in my car. Of course, I rented a car, right? I'm sitting in the car, and she, walked me outside, and I'm looking at my mom. She's looking at me. She's standing up, next to the car, my window. And my window is rolled down. She's standing there, and she began to cry. And I look at her, I'm like, Mom, what you crying for? And no words, y'all. I'm like, my mom, she know how to hit a motherfucker, right? No words. She just emotion. And now, granted, I grew up with my mom. She always crying. That's the thing. Like, my mom is like, she always been very emotional. And then psychology and mental health, right? When a person has been, diagnosed with depression or said to have, depression, one of the symptoms is like crying spells. So crying spells, listen, my mom and crying spells, inseparable, okay? Like, my mom always would cry. Like, anything can make her cry. She'll be sitting on the couch, boom, start crying. So it was like normal. So it's not like, okay, we'll be in a house and my mom start crying and you look at her like, oh, what's wrong? Ask her what's wrong, because this is what she do. So she would shed a few tears and then she wipe it. A lot of times it'd be like she may be watching TV, right? Usually like she watching Lifetime, or maybe she just sitting there thinking about some shit, deep thought. And then she just started crying. So it was a norm, right? It was just a norm. But this time, this cry was different. Because she never cried at my departure. Like, I had been, like I left Jacksonville in 2014 when I moved to Tallahassee to finish my bachelor's degree. So it's not like, I left home many times, right? I left home many times. I left Jacksonville in 2011 when I moved to Atlanta. Of course, I always go back. I go, home to visit, right? So I had been, back and forth visiting. And, of course, leaving. And I don't remember my mom ever crying, like, at my departure. But rewind back to 2021. When is the last time I saw her? I'm sitting in a car. Like I said, she walked me to the car. I'm getting in, getting ready to get buckled up, getting ready to leave for my flight back to New York. And tears are coming down her face. And I'm just like, Mama. I say, what's behind the tears? Why you crying? And she didn't say nothing. And I looked, I said, it's going to be all right. I said, it's going to be all right. And, I'll call you when I get to where I'm going. It's going to be all right. And she left me with that. She wouldn't put no words on it. So, of course, I'm thinking, like, why the fuck is she crying? Like, I'm, excuse me. I'm riding off, in a car. Right? And like I said, it's about a good 45 minutes, drive from Jacksonville, or from St. Augustine back to Jacksonville, where I was staying in my Airbnb. And I'm thinking, like, why the fuck was she, and it's like a thought that kind of been in my mind, like, why is she crying? And I think I immediately thought, I say, dang, maybe she knows something I don't know. Like they say, people know when they're going to die. And I think she knew that was the last time she was going to see me. I think she knew that. And so that's what I took it as at that time. I'm like, okay, it's the last time I'm going to see her. And granted, I could have changed that thought and that reality. I could have changed that. But I'm just like, nah, nah, because that's a whole nother chapter in my book. But it's a lot of trauma. It's a lot of trauma in that, in the family and just in that location, okay? Just in Jacksonville and all. It's just a lot of bad shit, okay? So, I'll go back and visit, but it ain't something like, oh, I'm rushing to do, right? Because, of course, I am mindful of my own self-care, my own mental well-being, my own, health. I'm always mindful of that. And I set appropriate boundaries as I should. And so I ain't even really get to the crux of this video here, this recording. So take it back to May 2023. My mom in the hospital, and I'm still working. You know what I'm saying? I'm still showing up to work. And this is a different day now. Maybe she had been in the hospital for a few days. And my sister is calling. And she's like, giving me updates, right? And it's at this point where it's just like, okay, she's still unresponsive. So I'm like, okay. And they got her on life support, right? Breathing machine, all that. And my sister is like, the thing, my sister, she's very calm. You know what I'm saying? She's like calm nature. She's kind of soft spoken. So she's just like, yeah. They saying that, these are the options, basically, right? Of course, in healthcare, they try to empower the family of the patient with options. Like, these are your options, in terms of leaving her on life support, taking her off, or doing this procedure, and the success rate of all these different options, right? The likelihood that she is to survive in your sacrifice. And so, my sister's presenting these different options to me, and we already on the same vibration. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm picking up what she putting out energetically and spiritually. And we both, kind of simultaneously, resonated with the idea of I guess they call it pulling the plug, right? Taking her off life support. But guess what, yo? This is the kicker. In order to do that, guess what they need? They need authorization. And guess who they need it from? My dad. Yo, her husband, because guess what? My mom never got a divorce. And I think she did that intentionally. Because my mom ain't no fool. That's one thing. Listen, I give it to my mom. She is a wise woman, yo. And she stands 10 toes down by her shit. But she ain't no fool. So she never signed the divorce papers. And when I was in LA, working on my PhD, my dad, he would call me. And he was like, oh, you got your mom's address? And I'm like, of course I got my mom's address. He like, I want to send her, papers, divorce papers. And he had been asking me that. And I spoke to my mom and I said, Mom, Dad, he has the papers. He wants you to sign. She's like, go ahead, tell him to send them. Tell him to send. Yeah, my mom be lit. Tell him to send them. Send the papers. Knowing damn well she ain't signed no goddamn papers, right? But I think for her, keeping his last name, because she could have changed her last name. She never changed her last name. So she died with my dad's last name, which is Leach. So we all three have the same last name. And I think for her it was just like a badge of, I don't know, honor. Because, and everybody different. Listen, everybody different, but listen, when I say my mom and my dad, they were just this couple that you would think would be inseparable. I shared pictures on my Facebook page of me and my family and my mom and dad just being two lovebirds. Man and woman in love, a black man and black woman in love. Back in the 80s. And I think, from my mama's perspective, I don't think we ever had a conversation surrounding this, but I think, I only can imagine, like, she probably feel like she invested a lot in him, in their, relationship, the marriage. So she gonna take it to her grave. And that's what she did, And legally, see, people that understand the legal implications of marriage and, not getting a divorce, right? For him, it means freedom, of course. It's like it means freedom. And I think with that, he probably would have got married to his partner. So my dad got a partner who could have been his third wife after my mom. My mom was my dad's second wife. Again, my dad had been married to his first wife who gave him 6 kids. So my mom come around in the 80s, became my dad's second wife. And after my mom and dad separated, I would say around 2000 it was. So my mom and dad separated in 1996. But I would say around 2000, like not too long after. Could have been shit. Could have been a smooth transition from one to the next. But it was another woman that came in the picture. Turned out, after conversation with my mom, she gonna tell it like it is. She like, yeah, I knew that. I know her from St. Augustine. Turned out she know the lady, right? But my dad, started dating this other woman. Funny enough, they kind of look just alike in terms of height, the lady's ways, and just, a lot. They have a close resemblance. He got a new girlfriend. And when I came to visit in 2021, it was a lot of mess surrounding her and my dad with my family, with my sisters, because they was I had a sister that she was really not vibing well with my dad's girlfriend. There was some suspicion surrounding, okay, what is she doing? Is she really, does she really care about my dad, given, his condition? He's in a critical, kind of damn near critical condition or whatever. They living together, of course, like they living together, they partners. And when I came down there in 2021, spent those 10 days with him in the hospital, smelled the stench of death, got him back up on his feet. And me and my dad was very intimate. That's a whole chapter in my book that I got to put in my autobiography. Because we got very close, the most closer than what I ever thought we would ever be. Because, he's in a compromised situation. Like I say, he had lost a lot of weight, so I got him back eating. I'm doing the work of a nurse because it just came natural. I'm like, bitch, that's my motherfucking daddy. So some things just come intuitive, it come natural. Nobody ain't gotta tell you to do it. So I'm watching my dad. Of course, I know that's a nurse job. They supposed, they got nurses round the clock. That's what they do. But I'm just like, I'm not waiting on nobody to take care. I'm going to take care of him. I'm gonna bring him. I'm gonna nurse him back to life. So I'm washing him down. I'm massaging his body with lotion, and through it all, it's my first time ever seeing my dad's penis. But I'm just like, oh my God, like I say, too close for comfort, right? But I'm all up in there. Rubbing his head, his bald head, just caring for him. And what do you know? That was September 2021. 3 months later, December 2021, I get a call from my sister. And she's like, girl, so-and-so died. And the so-and-so was my dad's girlfriend. And I'm like, what? Who would have thought? Because I think the way it looked like my dad was going to die. But my dad said, not today. Not today, baby. And guess what? I said not today. I told Dev, it ain't the time. And so, but guess she died. I can't go into detail about that, but she died. And interesting. So, take it to 2023 when my dad had to make the decision to pull the cord. And I call my dad and I say, Dad, Mom is in the hospital. She had stroke. They said she got bleeding on her brain. She's been unresponsive. Got her on life support. It don't seem like she's going to be able to recover. She's not getting better. And even if they were able to do a procedure, right, where they're able to bring her to a place of being responsive, she's not going to be the same, right? She's going to be more incapacitated. She's going to be more compromised. She's going to need more care, round the clock care, than she did before this incident happened. Right? She's going to be more like dependent on other people to take care of her. And who wants to see her in that state? And we know my mom, she don't want to be in that state. Like she's very independent, right? Like nobody ain't gonna tell her what to do or how to do it, this, that. No. She don't want to be in that state, right? So explain this to my dad over the phone, and he's like, okay. I say, well, it's up to you. The doctor's saying you gotta make the call because he's still legally married. And he was like, okay, he said, well, if y'all want it, everybody's on the same page. Yes, at this point, everybody on the same page, so go ahead and, do it. They took her off, and I think when they took her off, the life support, I think she lasts, 2 days? 2 days. And at this time, around this time, like I say, this was May 2023, 2 years ago, I was dating this guy. And we went out to this club, this nightclub in Harlem. We had some drinks. This place called Corner Social. Very popular place in Harlem. Nice little spot. And we're standing up at this table, right? And me and him. And the place is kind of crowded. This is a decent crowd. But we're standing, me and him, at this table. Our drinks are sitting on a table. And we vibing. And yo, this is how I know spirit is real, yo. But out of nowhere, my drink, like, mysteriously, is swiped off the table and lands on the ground. Pow! Shatters. And we both look like, who the fuck did? Like, because I didn't do it. I did not do that. He, of course, didn't do. Like, who the fuck? No, like, nobody's hand was there to knock it off. And so I said, you know what? My mom did that shit. She did it. And I said it to him. And she was in the hospital this time, right? I think off life support. But she was, still she was still breathing. But she was, of course not. She was on her way out, let's put it that way. She was on her way out. And I said to him, I was like, yo, I think that was my mom. Bless me. I said, I think that was my mom that did that shit. I don't think she's happy with me right now. Because I'm in New York and she on her deathbed in Florida. And so we left. Me and him left. He lived in, I forget the name of that place. It's like, I guess it's considered like Long Island. Queens, it's like Queens, kind of Long Island. It's a neighborhood, kind of upscale neighborhood where he lived. I forget the name of it now. He had a house out there, right? So we go, and before we get there, of course, we got to take the Long Island Railroad. And so we at Penn Station because that's, where the Long Island Railroad passed through. So we had to go to Penn Station from Harlem. And I remember I get a call from my sister because I'm on standby at this point. So, you already know. You got to be on standby at this time, times like this, because shit is, things are imminent, right? And so I'm on standby, and of course I got my phone right there. And I get a call from my sister. And she said, she was like, yeah, I think it's time. She was like, you want to talk to mom? Hell yeah, put your mom on the phone. Again, like I say, my mom already been off life support, I think maybe about 2 days, But the blood's still pumping, through her body. And I said, yeah, put it on, give her the phone. So she gave her the phone, and I'm saying my last words to mom, right? And I'm bringing up memories. Listen, me and my mom, we got like this really weird relationship. And again, I talk about it in my book, American Dreamer. But because I'm a daddy's girl, and like I said, my mom and my dad raised me. And so at the age of 12, when my mom decided final straw, she took me and my sister, uprooted us, went to go live with her mother. I could tolerate it for 4 years. 4 years. But then I'm just like, I can't. And I ran away from home at 16, moved back with my dad. Me and my dad kind of plotted this undercover mission, unbeknownst to my mom. She didn't know. But she came home from work summer of 2000. And she like, where Danielle? She asked my cousin, like, where Danielle? And they say, Danielle, she left with her dad. And it's funny because I wrote a letter. So I'm, living with my mom. I hated. My mom was strict as fuck. She was beating. That's a whole separate story. But, my mom just old school with it, right? She marched with Martin Luther King, civil rights movement, just very brittled and just hardened by life. And she was just strict. Drill Sergeant strict. I made a post yesterday, just kind of reminiscent of my mom, like thinking how when she would talk, she yells when she talks. And this is normal. This is normal. Like she just everything she say, she yell it. People like that. Like everything that they say, they yelling. Like why? And it's funny because I'm so much like my mom in many ways. And I remember when I'll be around my mom and I'm talking, I project my voice. Now my voice kind of has softened a bit, but I would be loud projecting my voice, and she like, why are you so loud? Why are you so loud? I'm just like your motherfucking ass. I'm just like you. I am you, right? And so on that phone call, my last, words to my mom, I'm reminiscing, and I made a joke. I said, I remember my mom came and got your girl, man. Yo. So, again, like I said, I ended up being with my mom from age 12 to 16. Then I ran away 16 years old to go live with my dad. Around that time, I was like 18. I was dating this guy who lived in Tallahassee. So I'm in high school still, right? Dating this guy. He was former military. He had attended a college preparatory school, kind of like the rival to the college prep school that I went to. They were rivals. So I went to Paxton School for Advanced Studies. He graduated from Stanton Preparatory School in Jacksonville. And he was living in Tallahassee. But at the time, doing what niggas do in Florida, you know what I'm saying? People don't get it. But if it scarce opportunities, niggas gonna do what they gotta do to survive. So he was selling dope. And I went up there to visit. He came to pick me up. And this is why I'm living with my dad. He came to pick me up. And I'm up there in Tallahassee visiting. Now the shit was ghetto. The shit was ratchet now. But bitch, I'm in the trap house. Bitch, I'm in a motherfucking trap house. 18 years old. Mind you, I've always been smart. So, of course, my studies still, I'm on check. I'm on point with my studies. Ain't like I'm falling, but I'm good, right? And so, my mom get word from my best friend. My best friend at the time, Michelle, she was up there. She was one of FAMU. She like a year ahead of me. So she was already in college at FAMU. And she told her mom, who was the first lady of the church my mom went to in St. Augustine, right, that I had come to Tallahassee. Like, she pretty much snitched on you, girl, right? So I'm up there in Tallahassee. Bitch, I'm wilding the fuck out. And I'm with this guy who was probably like, we probably got like a 4-year difference, if that. I don't know. I forget how many years we were apart, but he was obviously older than me, right? And so he up there selling drugs and shit. Bitch, I could have went down. What is it like? A lot of shit can go wrong, and that's that picture, right? So word get to my mom. My mom immediately take action when she find out from the first lady of the church through her daughter, which was my best friend at the time. She immediately take action, called my dad, and was like, we gotta go get Danielle from Tallahassee. So they drove all the way. That's about a good, I think, 3-hour drive. Go pick me up. And when she get to Tallahassee, I'm not with my partner at the time, because I was staying at his house, which is pretty much a trap house where he was selling dope out of. But I'm with Michelle. May she rest in peace. I'm at her house, right, at her apartment. Her and her brother, they both was going to FAMU, right, living together. They was roommates. So I'm at their house now. This is like a little safe haven or whatever. My mom and dad get there, and my mom wild as fuck. My mom come in the motherfucking apartment, wait and yell. Yo, she goes straight. Now, granted, mind you, I'm like 18 years old. 17 maybe 17 I would say, but I'm a senior in school. She go and grab a motherfucking broom and start swinging that shit at your girl, yo. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yo, she wilding the hell out. So imagine how awkward the ride, the 3-hour ride back from Tallahassee to Jacksonville was, yo. And after she didn't calm down, and we ended up getting some food, which I thought it was kind of beautiful, because look, my mom, my dad unite. That's all I wanted anyway. I wanted them to be together. So they together. Y'all don't understand. It was such a beautiful feeling. I was like happy, even though, like, yeah, my mom hit me with a broom and shit like that. Shit was embarrassing because my, excuse me, my best friend Michelle at the time, and of course her brother Michael, they laughing at me, they snickering and shit, seeing her, going after me with a broom. So shit kind of embarrassing. I was like, what the fuck, yo? I'm still getting, beat by my mom and stuff. And so, but the ride back home, and like I said, we stopped, I think, got some food. It was just me, my mom, and my dad once again. This is all I wanted. Them two together. That's all I wanted. I never wanted to see them separate. And so I mentioned that. I say, my last words to my mom, and granted, like I say, I'm at Penn Station with this guy I'm dating. My sister called me and she's like, I think it's time. Because she's very perceptive too, very spiritual, connected, deeply connected. So my sister, she sensed, I think it's time. And so that's when she called to give me, a chance to speak to my mom. And I'm just telling my mom, like, Mom, I love you. You fought the good fight. Despite our ups and downs, we ain't always saw eye to eye on things. I kept it real in my last words. My mom said, we ain't always seen eye to eye on things. I said, and I had to take it back, when she came. So I asked her with the broom to put me in check. I said, I forgive you though. I forgive you. I love you, and I'm going to make sure that I represent your name well. And I'm like, we're going to carry the torch. Because this ain't the end. And that was my final words. And so, boom, hang up the phone. About 3 minutes later, my sister husband called my phone right back and say, that's it. She took her last breath. He said, that's all she wanted to do was hear your voice. So it was like, it's almost the way it played out. It's like she needed to hear my voice before she took her last breath, and that was her alibi. And I'm like, so May 26th, this is May 26th now, 2023. That's when she signed out. And so, at least signed out of this earth realm. So, I'm like, thank you. I told him, thank you for letting me know. My sister, I think she's just emotional, breaking down at the hospital, because that's just who she is. So she tearing that shit up. That's the reason why he was able to call me and he had to communicate that message to me. And I appreciate him for doing that too. I really do. I really do. It make a difference, to validate my experience in that moment. And so hung up the phone and I let this guy know that I was dating, what just happened. My mom, she just transitioned. And he's looking like, I don't think he knew how to respond. He didn't. He was just kind of there. He knew. Because the thing is, me and him, excuse me, I'm coughing. But the thing is, me and him, we really didn't know each other like that well. I would say we had known each other for maybe, if a month. And so, I don't think he quite knew how to respond. And me and him, after we was leaving the club in Harlem, and then hearing that news, we had decided, had decided to go back to his place. So we go to his place, and I decided to do this. But before we ended up going to bed, I was up in the living room, and I'm on the phone with my cousin, and she's just the sweetest soul, my younger cousin. And she's like humorous too. So in her kind of recapping like humorous moments of my mom, it lifted the heaviness, in that moment for me. And I really do appreciate my younger cousin for doing this. She making jokes, because my younger cousin is dating this guy, hood nigga, that nigga from the hood. And my mom always keep it real and tell it like it is. And she just, was recapping memories. So my mom was pouring into her, just pretty much putting up her game. Like, dating these niggas ain't doing shit for your ass. And my cousin put it in the same way. She said it the same way my mom would talk, That's what made it funny, because my mom, she don't hold back. She will read you your rights. She would tell you about yourself, read you your rights up and down. Don't give a fuck. And then make you a plate of food. Like, that's her. And so it made me laugh. But me and her, we spent a good hour on the phone, and, it was good vibes. And she was just, sharing her condolences. And we both, reminiscing on my mother. And then I ended up going to the bedroom with the guy I was dating. We didn't have sex because I didn't want to. I never had sex with this guy. But I wanted to create this spiritual encounter, intertwining my mom in the mix. Listen, it may sound weird, but hey, I'm a weird motherfucker. I accept it. I accept the judgment, because I know People from the outside may like, damn, girl, you weird. That's crazy. But it all makes sense in my mind, okay? It was my way of kind of commemorating my own mother. And it just, I needed, because I'm in New York. I'm in New York. So my mom just transitioned. I'm in New York. She's in Florida. Right? And I felt like I just needed something. Of course, I didn't need penetration, but I needed something that resonated with me, that reminded me of her. Something that was physical, right? So I asked him if he could, was this at night? No, that night, actually at night, we ended up just going to sleep. We ended up going to sleep, and that was that. But the morning, the next day, y'all remember, because the alcohol was kind of wearing off. So we just slept that night. The next day, that's what it was. The next day I woke up because I remember the sunlight. And I asked him, I was like, can you give me a spanking? Yeah, I wanted the fucking belt. And, excuse me, for those who know me, know like I talk about this, right? In my writings, I talk about this in my videos, how, growing up, I got beat. My mom would beat the shit out of us, me and my sister. She would beat the shit out of us, yo. It was a ritual. Some people may say, oh, that's just discipline. Nah. That shit was abuse. That she would have us stripped down to our underwear, lay across the bed. We only had our panties on. And she would wear on our flesh with extension cord, cable cord, leather belt. Those are her 3 choice weapons. And it hurt so bad, yo. Like, it's like I felt like it broke my spirit every single time that this happened. And we would get up with welts on our bodies, bruises. So to the point where even when it was hot in Florida, this is Florida, so it get hot as shit. And we in school, bitch, it's hot. And she telling us we gotta, put on turtlenecks, bitch, to cover up the bruises. Now what the fuck we look like wearing turtlenecks to cover up my hot as shit? And my mom, she gangster with it. So she'll tell us, I dare you to call the CPS. I give you the number. She like, the white man gonna do you worse than I do you. He gonna put his foot in your neck. I dare you to call their ass. We never called, but I think she was thinking ahead, like in case we got the thought in our mind to report her motherfucking ass. Cause she knew, like, come on. So that's what get me, because listen, we're adults now, right? So we can talk about it in a very meaningful way, from a growth perspective, from a healing perspective. And I'm honest enough and I'm mature enough to be able to reflect back and look like, come on. That was more than discipline. That was abuse, man. And some people be in denial about this shit. I've made posts on social media and people laugh and they just like, oh, that's just, they look at it as that's just typical, child rearing, right? And it was for a lot of parents in the South. But it's intergenerational fucking trauma and cycles that need to be broken. My mom never, like growing up, I didn't get hugs from my mom. Kisses, I love yous. It was none of the sweet, affectionate stuff growing up. It was all discipline focused. Just straight discipline. Militant. That's all I got from my mom growing up. I think it's almost offensive, I think. Like many times I feel offended as an adult when, there had been an expectation of me to respond in ways that my upbringing didn't nurture me in that. Like, you can't expect an adult child, to have this emotionally attached, how can I put it? You can't expect an adult child to have this kind of emotional connection to an adult parent that inflicted such pain, physical pain, and emotional pain. Like, what the fuck do you like? What, like, literally? Come on, let's break this shit down. What the hell do you expect? You can't. It's like you're trying to pull water from a well that's dry. Like, you can't. What do you expect? Because it's not there, and I'm not an actor. I can only be real and authentic and genuine. Parents that balance nurturing and love and warmth and affection with discipline that is not given out of anger, right? But that's well controlled and appropriate to the offense of what the child did. Those kids can be, they usually grow up to be kids that show up in a different way. I ain't gonna go into detail, but they just show up in the world in a different way, right? And respond to their adult parent, let's say in quote unquote healthier ways. And that's just that. I'm gonna just sit that right there. I'll talk more about that in my book. I'll just sit that right there for now, right? Let's put a pin in it. But going back to that morning after her transition, I asked him, I said, I just want to, discipline spanking. And he perked up. So I took off my clothes, true to fashion, how she would tell us to do. And he went and got a leather belt. I think he was too happy, dude. I'm like, come on, yo, what the? He was a little bit too anxious to do this shit. But he didn't hesitate at all, right? He got the leather belt and he beat me in true fashion as my mom would. And it did feel good. I ain't gonna front, the shit felt good. It was a release. And we did not have sex. Because prior I had conversations with him. I said to him, because I listen to people talk. It's what I do. I study people. And I've been listening to him talk. I let him talk. I let a person be who they are. And I've been listening to him talk and hear him talking about his sexcapades, I call it. Men, that's what men do. You can, you will, right? And they, fucking different women. And I'm listening. I'm just like, I told him, I said, you don't have sexual discipline. You don't. I told him that to his face. You lack sexual discipline. And he's like, no, I don't. I can show you. So then, with me saying that, then he was trying to prove that he has discipline. So that was his way of being able to prove that by not initiating sexual intercourse with me. Being able to see my naked body, which he, behold it and appreciate it. Being able to administer the discipline spanking and not stick his dick in me, right? So it felt good. That was a day after my mom transitioned. And I want to wrap this video up because I see that it is over an hour. But I say this to say that all is spiritual. And going back to the Facebook post that I spoke of in the beginning of this recording here, and even looking at other posts where people are grieving the loss of their mother and they're just wishing they could have one more conversation with her and hold her and touch her and do this and do that. And I'm thinking, like, I don't think I ever necessarily felt that way. I don't think I can say those words that she said in her post, her Facebook post. I can't say that because in my experience, my mom is very much alive. So she transitioned from her body May 26th. This was at night. But not even, I wouldn't even give it 36 hours after that. I'm laying in my bed here in Upper East Side, Manhattan, New York. And I can't make this shit up. I was between like beta and theta level of consciousness. And I felt like a spirit. I saw it. I'm laying in my bed. And like I said, I'm between beta and theta. So I'm in between kind of sleep, but I'm awake. And I'm looking over. I'm laying like on my right side or kind of like, kind of leaning more so to the right. And I see this spirit. And then like in a moment, it permeated my being. The spirit permeated I felt like, I can't make it. I felt it. And I'm just like, it's like her spirit inhabited my body, yo. And then I looked at myself. I got up and looked at myself in the mirror. And I saw her face on my face. And I'm just like, what in the fuck? And like I say, not that I want her to leave. I'm okay with her coming to visit, but she's visited me a lot. And I welcome her, It feels good. And funny enough, because after she transitioned, and of course I'm, back here in my place. And it was one day I'm sitting in my recliner chair in my living room, and I couldn't fight it. And this heaviness came over me, and I'm just wailing, yo. I'm electrified, and I'm wailing and I'm crying, and it felt so good, but I was in so much pain. It hurt so bad because it dawned on me like my mom is not here. And I felt for my mom. I felt empathy for her. I felt compassion for her. That I know that she fought the long fight, and it was hard for her last several years of existence. And not even just her last several years, but shit, her whole life has been fucking hard. My mom lived a hard knock fucking life. But yet, there were moments where she was able to smile and be the life of the party. And she, she put up the good fight. And I cried for that. I released. I'm just like, you know, she went through a lot and it was hard on her. I saw how hard it was, but like the thing with my mom, she hold and carried pain very well. She carries it well, even though, like I say, she would have a crying spell, so she would cry, but she's the kind of person just keep going. She just keep going. She keep doing what she need to do. She had a lot of anger. Like I said, she's always yelling. She carry a lot of anger with her, but yeah, I released that day. That day was very cathartic. I'll never forget. And I know my neighbors because I know I was loud as shit. It was just like an existential experience. It just came over me, and that went on for about a good 10 minutes, where I'm just wailing. And after that, I went to sleep, and I had a dream where I'm headed to work, going up the escalator at the train station. Before I get there, though, before I get to the escalator, my mom appears. She just pops up. And she's facing me with her arms out and gives me a hug. And I hug her. And it was almost as if, like, you want to come? Like, I don't know how to interpret that. Like, she's holding her arms out as if, like, I welcome you. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Oh, I got this. I got this, right? So I passed right through her after we hug each other. I passed right through her and I continue to go up the escalator. She appeared in another dream. And she's dressed. And we're at like this event. And she's dressed and she's dancing and just feeling good. And I give her a compliment. I say, you look good. I say, look at you. You look nice. You know, my mom has appeared so many times since her transition. The most recent, and I'm about to wrap this video up, but the most recent, this shit is funny, yo. It's kind of weird. I'm like, what the fuck, ma? So, of course, these are dreams, right? So, I'm dreaming, but it's so real. And scientists, researchers would like to interpret dreams as unfinished business from the day or repressed memories that are pushed down subconsciously, or suppressed memories that are pushed down consciously, that emerge during the time we are asleep to finish processing in our brain, in our mind. But then again, I know that there are just dreams that could be premonitions. There are dreams that are an extension of the waking hours, right? The mind is just, the mind is beautiful, man. So the way that things manifest in our reality when we are fully conscious, right? Some people have experienced hallucinations, and I look at that experience that where I was like half asleep but half woke. It was like a hypnagogic hallucination that I had. But it was more of an experience. I saw it, I felt it, and that's just what dreams are. It's just another extension of our reality. And recently, the location was my mother's house, my grandmother's house. And I'm sitting in my bed minding my business. I'm always minding my own business, y'all. And she appeared with a vibrator. And I'm like, get off my bed, yo, get off my bed. But she appeared with a brand spanking new vibrator, and it was an upgrade from the one I got now. And I'm just like, and in the dream, I'm telling her, no, why are you giving me a vibrator? You know, like, what? But it was a gift. She was giving me a vibrator. I don't think I took it, though. I didn't take it. But when I woke up from the dream, I looked at it as like, oh, she's trying to tell me something. I was just hilarious. I was just like, not my mama appear in my dream trying to give the girl a vibrator. She's trying to tell me I need to upgrade my shit now. Listen, the one I have had it for, I don't know. Like, I hold on. As long as shit work, I'm keeping it. I use it. Of course, I clean it, you know. But I had it for a little while now. I think since I moved back to New York. And it's very functional. But I'm like, you trying to tell me I need to upgrade my vibrator? Anyway, on that note, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. But happy Mother's Day, you guys. Happy Mother's Day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.